and they say the 22 keys to success as a business owner. You've never ran a business. Your business is selling courses. And that's okay if you make money with that, because I still think there's value in giving inspiration to others. That's totally fine. I learned very early on at 24 years old, I did not want to be a motivational speaker. I wanted to build things.
As I've traveled, and I'm curious to hear your experience, I want to talk about your childhood and how that impacted you. But before that, coming from Iran, living in the United States, I travel around a lot and I meet people from different cultures who say, why do you want to be frustrated? You've made it. Why isn't it ever enough? What do you say to those people?
So for me, I'm chasing capacity. I'm not chasing beating somebody. It's a big difference. In my 20s, it was about beating my competitors. Like, oh my gosh, I'm going to beat him and I'm going to beat those guys and we're going to do this. And it produced energy, don't get me wrong, but when you did beat somebody, you're like, now who do I go beat? So eventually, every time I plateaued, it's because I was targeting either a financial goal or I was targeting an enemy, a competitor, versus, okay, Pat, no one exists in the world. You versus you. What do you think is your full capacity? What are you capable of doing? So you've lived this weird life. Why did the man upstairs give you this kind of a life? Why were you born into a Christian family? Mom believed in communism, dad believed in imperialism. Your mom escaped Russia and came to Caspian Sea. Your dad escaped Iraq, came over here. And then you go to Germany. Your parents get a divorce. You're living at a refugee camp. You join the military. You're the only Iranian guy on campus with this size of a nose where everybody wonders where you're from. And everybody's thinking maybe he's here to want to learn the military and take it back. So you have to learn how to make friends. So I'm 27, 28. I'm sitting there saying, why this life? What is it? Maybe there's a bigger thing that you're put here to do. So you know what? Why don't we seek that rather than trying to beat everybody? And what's funny is when I've seeked my capacity, the money never stopped growing. And I don't even think competitors. I think more our capacity, what we're capable of doing. If you sit there and you say, well, how about on YouTube? Well, look what some of these vloggers are doing. Let's go beat them. You're not a vlogger. I'm not a vlogger. Oh, no, let's go beat the Ryan kid. He opens up Legos and why don't we start rating toys? I'm not a toy guy. I'm not that guy. So you're like, who are you? What are we going to build? So we targeted that. And I got to tell you, one, it lifts so much weight off your back because you're not like compared to this other person. You're just kind of finding your own niche to want to compete in. And then you're figuring out what the biggest upside is with you and you're hoping you reach it one day.
That's one of the biggest challenges of entrepreneurship is staying focused. It's really easy to get distracted.
In my early 20s, I had a lot of fun. And I realized it's very distracting and it's not giving me the biggest upside of what I want to do. The more focused I got, the better I did. If you can fully focus on building one area, you've seen people nowadays. I had a guy one time who was a former cop of 22 years in Southern California. He comes and sits in front of me and he gets his insurance license. It's okay. Never sells a single policy. 6 months later, I'm like, hey, Steve, what are you doing? He said, let me tell you what's happened in the last 6 months. I said, what's happened in the last 6 months? I got my PNC, my notary, my real estate, my Series 6, my 63. He told me 10 licenses he got in the last 6 months. I said, you got all those? He says, yes. So what have you sold? Nothing, but here's what I'm doing. I'm trying to be holistic. So what's holistic? I want to imagine you sit with a client and you sell their house and you sell their auto insurance and you sell their health insurance and you sell their life insurance and you do the, a notary and you do the title and you do this. I'm like, oh, you think that's how this works? What part of that is specializing and seeing what Bruce Lee did to have the one kick that's so powerful? Why would you want to do that? 10 years later, you know what he does? Making the same amount of money. He just has 30 licenses today and still doesn't make any money. Because he's thinking it's, going wide, like trying to do all these industries. I'm about focus in one thing, build it up, grow it, put your energy into it. And then later on, if you want to be an investor, fine. but go build one big thing. And you're right, as an entrepreneur, one of the biggest distractions is to try to stay focused, especially today, where if you go on Twitter or YouTube, you're going to get 50 different industries you want to get involved in within 2 hours.
I call it the hashtag entrepreneur. It seems like people are not as focused as you're saying on building a profitable business, building out the capacity, as you say. It's about influencing, perhaps. What is your thought on this modern day entrepreneur? Because when I was 12 years old, and I think you were the same way, and I wanted to be an entrepreneur, it wasn't cool. Now it's cool.
Yeah, it is cool, but also you got to know that today there are guys that read Think and Grow Rich, Laws of Success, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Psycho-Cybernetics, Multiple Streams of Income by Robert G. Allen, and they read these 10, 20 books, and then they go sell a course. And they say the 22 keys to success as a business owner. You've never ran a business. You never profited from a business. Your business is selling courses. And that's okay if you make money with that, because I still think there's value in giving inspiration to others. But you're a motivational speaker. You're not an entrepreneur. And it's okay if you want to be a motivational speaker. That's totally fine. I learned very early on at 24 years old, I did not want to be a motivational speaker. I wanted to build things. Like I've always loved Legos. Till today, I love building Legos. We built the big Star Wars, whatever it's called, the big one, the big piece, the biggest Lego piece that they had before the Coliseum came out. When you build it, you're looking like, oh my gosh, it's so awesome. Like there's a high after you're done building something. I love building a business, a company, an empire. And unfortunately today, there's guys that are doing drop shipping. There's guys that are selling stuff on eBay. There's guys that are flippers, which I consider a flipper an entrepreneur. But there's also guys that are selling courses online, and they're making that way because we have this great tool called the internet that comes with YouTube, Facebook ads, Google, Amazon, and you can make money. But I like right now I'm running a company here, got my 20 employees here. This is one of the companies. I got my nearly 100 employees of support that are running out of Addison. I have my developers all around the world. I have my sales offices of 150 across the country in 49 states, and including Puerto Rico. I love that. There's something very, very exciting about building a business that you see grow. But that's me. Some people say, well, what's wrong with selling courses online? Look, if you're a great communicator and people are willing to buy your courses, more power to you. But you're more a motivational speaker than an entrepreneur if you're doing that. I see a little bit of a different glimpse of what that means to me than somebody that actually is building a business.